Ken has been an active user. Even before, when he was just with Gypsy in prison, when he started using is when he reached out to Gypsy. Ken is also gay. If Gypsy's parole officer would surprisingly drug test her, she would most likely not be clean. Because we do know that Gypsy likes to follow the crowd. What kind of crowd does she hang out with? Well, we know one, Ken is a user. And we know two, we have speculations that Bree, her best friend that is always defending her, is also a user, because we have seen it on her lives before. Not only that, Bree's husband is an ex-felon that she has openly admitted to. He was also, in the past, a rug user.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard just can't catch a break. Or maybe she just keeps handing people the scissors to cut her loose. Because now, allegedly, one of her own close friends has flipped the script, dropping some wild accusations about Gypsy and her boyfriend Ken Urker. We're talking meth use, questions about Ken's sexuality, and claims that Gypsy knows all about it. And that's just the beginning. What makes this mess even spicier? The whistleblower is connected to creators like Ash to Trippy and Zora. Yes, that Zora, the one who accused Gypsy of stealing her life story not too long ago. And now she's back with even more dirt. But is this just drama for clout, or are we finally starting to see the cracks in Gypsy's post-prison fairy tale? You're gonna want to stay till the very end, because we dug through old Reddit threads, cross-referenced timelines, and found something that might just validate these allegations. And spoiler alert, it's not even recent, which actually makes it more believable.
Hi guys, so as a lot of you know, my following has really grown since I first came out about Gypsy last year, and a lot of people have been asking me, like, what's the lore, what happened? So I thought I would do a little get ready with me while I explain. First and foremost, let me put some pictures up 1 second. So obviously on the left in this photo is Gypsy, and on the right is Amelia Bird, her ex-best friend from prison who is serving a life sentence, and my ex-girlfriend. I reached out to Amelia probably like a month before Gypsy got out, and she ended up sending me a message. Let me put that up. So Gypsy sent me this message not far into me and Amelia's friendship, but we got really close really fast. Like, she would call me and we would talk on the phone for probably like an hour every day. So Gypsy sent me this message, and I told her, you know, like, I'm currently in a shmooshiv relationship, but I really do like Amelia, and let me show you her response. This was how she responded. So basically she was trying to, like, play matchmaker between Amelia and I, because she had this girl that she just couldn't get over. She kept going back to her. They met in prison, and she was just really toxic, and of course, you know, me and Amelia are broken up now, and they're back together. So after those messages, some time goes by, and I'm still talking to Amelia on the phone, like, literally, like, an hour every day. And I would, you know, I had an abusive boyfriend, so I would wait until he was at work, or sometimes even walk down the street, like, up and down the street, for an hour on the phone with this woman. Eventually, I ended up getting away from my abuser, and, you know, obviously we did end up dating. We were together for about a year, and in that year, me and Gypsy also became best friends, because she would call me her best friend by association. Like, you know, I was dating her best friend, so I was also her best friend, and not to mention, like, she would, you know, get messages to Amelia through me. So she would text me, and she'd be like, hey, tell Amelia, call at this time, or, you know, tell Amelia, blah, 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 blah. And one of the text messages she sent me was, tell Amelia I'm going on the Kardashians, and I'm going to talk about her case. It's airing on blah, blah, blah night. Tell her to have everybody tune in. So we had everybody tune in. I'm talking family, friends, the prison. They watched it at the prison. Okay? And she didn't even bring up Amelia once. So Amelia, being just as greedy and self-centered as Gypsy, obviously gets pissed, because, bitch, you didn't say my name on the Kardashians. So, she was like, air her out. Air her ass out. I know her secrets. You know her secrets. We know her secrets. Tell them. So, I hop on TikTok, and I posted some videos, and at first, like, it seemed like nobody really noticed, but then I got posted in a Facebook group. And that was when I got invited up on panels and stuff, and I really let it loose, okay? I aired her ass out. And she wasn't very happy about it. My first live panel, she had Ken come in after me on damage control, and he was very pissed. He was very sassy. He was not happy. So this was all damn near a year ago now that I came out about all of this and started speaking truth about Gypsy. And in that time, I started to realize that she had lied about her mom having Munchausen's by proxy. And I'm a Munchausen's by proxy survivor myself, and she would always, like, push me to trauma dump on her. So I would tell her all sorts of things, and she would show, like, little to no empathy for me. But the weirdest one would have to be the time I told her one of my stories, and she turned around and told it as her own. Girl, what? Like, if you have a story, tell it, but obviously you don't because you're stealing mine. What? Now pause the video, because this is where shit gets twisted, okay? This is where it gets twisted. So, I had been trying to reach out to the Innocence Project for a year about Amelia's case and could not for the life of me get anybody to respond, and I thought that was so odd. The Innocence Project called me and told me that she had been declined years ago because there was evidence in her case that proved that she was guilty. After Gypsy has sat here and claimed she's innocent, Amelia sits here and claims she's innocent, she took that plea deal because if she went to trial, it would have been worse because there was so much evidence proving that she did arrange the pew-pewing of her father and the schmurder of her mother. So, obviously, that being said, she calls me about an hour later, and I answer, and I'm like, don't ever call my fucking phone again. Boop! Now, of course, Amelia went and did the narcissist thing and said that I was crazy, we never dated, you know, in order to debunk me. But obviously, I mean, we had messages, I had spoken to her friends, I was friends with her bunkie. Like, obviously, nobody was hearing her out on that one because, girl, what kind of 21-year-old girl just willingly, like, chooses to waste her life away on an inmate? Like, you yourself asked me to be your girlfriend, and now you're gonna sit here and say that we never dated? Okay, girl. Okay. But I do want to end this video by telling you guys that a friend of mine, Nadetha, reached out to Amelia, and I'll put her username, like, right there so you can go look at the video. But she reached out to Amelia just yesterday when Gypsy made her little video talking about her best friend Amelia. And Amelia says she wants nothing to do with Gypsy. They are not friends. They never will be. That friendship is over. So, obviously, Gypsy's telling another one of her lies again to make herself look better because Amelia can't speak for herself because she's in prison. But anyways, that's my story on my side of the Gypsy Rose lore. That's how we know each other, how we met, and kind of like why we fell off.
So apparently the drama just leveled up. Allegedly, Gypsy Rose Blanchard's own close friend is now turning the tables and spilling some serious tea. And we're not talking about basic shade. We're talking full-blown meth accusations and rumors about Ken Urker's sexuality resurfacing yet again. According to this so-called insider, not only are Gypsy and Ken allegedly dabbling in meth, but Gypsy herself is fully aware that Ken is more into guys than girls. And if true, that opens a whole new can of worms about what kind of relationship these two really have.
Got any photos of Brad? I don't know Brad, but I think I might know who you're talking about. Hold on. I saw that this photo has been floating around again. It's resurfaced, and people have a lot of questions, rightfully so. So I want to tell you guys about Brian. This is Brian, Gypsy's ex-boyfriend from when she was in prison, and he does all of her dirty work for her, and I'm talking to her last week in prison. My ex-girlfriend Amelia told me that she had called Brian. So Gypsy probably still talks to this man, and during her time in prison, if somebody posted something she didn't like about her, or say she needed somebody to log into an old Facebook account and destroy evidence because the public started to ask some questions, Brian was her guy. This is Brian. I hope I answered your question. Feel free to leave me any more comments or questions. I appreciate y'all so much.
According to Ash to Trippy, before running with this claim, she did some vetting to make sure it wasn't just another TikTok tall tale. She says she asked for receipts, checked the source's background, and felt confident enough to share it publicly. And honestly, I wasn't ready to take it at face value either. But then I started digging on my own and found something that made me stop scrolling. Turns out there's a Reddit post from about 240 days ago, long before these allegations popped off, where someone claimed to be Ken Urker's neighbor back in 2013 to 2014. And yes, they straight up said Ken was the one who got Gypsy pregnant. The kicker? They opened the post for an AMA, Ask Me Anything, inviting people to spill and snoop because, quote, he's in the spotlight now and people love tea. So this wasn't a reactive post made for clout. This was old dirt just waiting to be dusted off. Now here's where it gets wild. That post mentioned some suspicious behavior and lifestyle choices that eerily line up with what's being said now, despite the fact that it was written long before this drama resurfaced, which ironically makes the claims feel more legit. If someone was trying to fabricate this stuff now, they wouldn't need to dig through Reddit archives to make it stick. But the fact that those receipts are predated, that's a red flag waving in the opposite direction. Of course, we can't confirm any of this as fact yet, but it does beg the question, how well do we really know the post-prison version of Gypsy Rose? And what kind of life is she building with Ken, a man who may not even be fully invested in her emotionally or romantically? So, at first glance, it seems random. Just someone claiming to have lived next door to Ken Urker back in 2013 or 2014. But then you read the comments and replies, and suddenly it doesn't feel so random anymore. It feels like early warning signs we all missed. One commenter asked the poster if they were shocked that Ken supposedly got Gypsy pregnant. And the response? Brutal honesty. They said they try to avoid all news about Gypsy Rose, but they're not surprised someone like Ken, who allegedly knew about her background, would still look at her TikTok and go, yep, that's the one. No hate to Gypsy, they said. But come on. The original Reddit poster responded, saying that even they were in denial at first, because in their words, Ken always seemed like a basic guy. Not in a bad way, just super average. So much so that even the weirdos wouldn't clock him. He blended in that well. But then came the line that really stuck. The normal type are the serial unlivers. And that's not just a throwaway comment. They straight up suggested there might be some drug use and depravity beneath that quiet exterior, and said that if Gypsy is manipulating people, she learned from the best. Another user asked if Ken ever seemed off. The Reddit poster gave a vague but telling reply, said the answer was too long to type out, but made it clear that Ken had a reputation for partying, drinking heavily, and spending a lot of time beachside. That beach boy lifestyle doesn't sound super scandalous. Until you mix in the next few comments. Because multiple users, completely separate from the original poster, started chiming in. One said, I don't want to say how I know him, but trust me, he's not a good guy. Another one claimed that Ken is currently abusing drugs and dealing with some serious alcohol issues. And yet another person, different from the rest, added that they've always had a weird gut feeling about him. Said he bounced from a 5-year relationship straight into Gypsy's life, moved to New Orleans 5 minutes later, and just went full speed ahead into a pregnancy. They said that kind of impulsive leap? Yeah, that screams red flags. That comment ended by calling Ken a simp with a dark side, which, honestly, might be the most accurate character summary we've heard so far. So here's the thing. I didn't want to take this current meth rumor and just run with it. I needed something, anything, that hinted at a pattern. And this old Reddit thread might just be it. Not only is it full of unconnected people describing the same exact behaviors, but it all predates the current drama. That gives it way more weight than just another TikTok theory chasing likes. And now, with that foundation laid, let's get into what's actually being said by the creator who dropped the initial bombshell. She said she did vet her sources, she did ask for proof. So, whether or not you believe it is up to you. But the claims, they're heavy. Let me play you what she said she was told. Listen closely and let me know what you think. Because at this point, this might not just be smoke. There might actually be a fire.
I want to start by saying that I do not ever repeat things that people tell me, one, that don't allow me to say. If somebody tells me something in confidence, I'm never going to turn around and just post a video. I will always ask if I can post about it. Two, I have a vetting system where some people don't even know that I vetted them and looked into their background by simply using their email address that they have and or phone number if they provide it to me. But most of the people that I have vetted are well aware that I do vet them to make sure that they are legitimate. Once I have vetted somebody, I then ask for proof of what they are saying. So it can be proof from a source, proof of what the source provided, and sometimes it's the source directly. Now we're talking about two different people, Ryan and Ken. And I'll put some pictures up on the screen for you so you guys can fully understand, so your brain doesn't tell you two different things, okay? Ryan is Gypsy's ex-husband. Recently, Gypsy Rose Blanchard spiraled out of control because Ryan had posted a text message that she had sent to him asking about if he was dating Amber J. It was a text message everybody knew about, and he even talked about it in his own live. But instead of letting it go, Gypsy felt that it was threatening and that he was going to start exposing things about her. So she in turn posted that his sweat rag he uses all the time and insinuated that it's because he is on methadone, which proves nothing because honestly, it makes addicts and ex-addicts and other people support him more. But it doesn't say that he was an active user. I know a lot of people, and I've done some research and I've watched a lot of documentaries on this, and a lot of people use methadone for pain relief. In my video, I never stated that methadone was used to get off of meth. We're gonna call it meth. But I did let you guys know this backstory about Ryan and Gypsy fighting. Online, very public. It is my opinion that I do believe that Ryan should sue her for defamation because that was not okay to do. That was private information. He didn't expose any kind of private information. It was stuff we already knew about, and it could have stopped at that. But she chose to go along. Now, back to the source. So the source that Zora has given me is very reliable and is in Gypsy's camp. Most likely talks to Gypsy quite often. Gypsy has confided in this person a lot. And this person knows a lot of things about Gypsy and about Ken. And this person has stated that Ken has been an active user. Even before when he was just with Gypsy in prison. That's actually, from what I have heard and I have uncovered, that could possibly be when he started using is when he reached out to Gypsy. Now, so you guys can get a little bit of a picture, Ken is Gypsy's current boyfriend and baby daddy to her baby girl, Aurora. Ken is also gay, allegedly, and I have to say allegedly because I am not willing to provide what I have seen to people because I'm not that kind of person. But this source we have does also confirm that they know Ken is gay, and Gypsy also knows that Ken is gay or bisexual, whatever you want to say. Now, when I say Ken has been an active user, he is an active user of math. Yes, math. If you know, you know. We have to keep it PG here on TikTok. And this source has also stated and vocalized that if Gypsy's parole officer would surprisingly drug test her, because her crime was not drug related. So in some places, putting aside that Louisiana is very corrupt in my opinion, in some places they do not drug test you unless you had a drug related offense or were caught with drugs. But this source has stated if Gypsy was surprisingly drug tested, she would most likely not be clean. Because we do know that Gypsy likes to follow the crowd. What kind of crowd does she hang out with? Well, we know one, Ken is a user. And we know two, we have speculations that Bree, her best friend that is always defending her, is also a user, because we have seen it on her lives before. Not only that, Bree's husband is an ex-felon that she has openly admitted to. He was also in the past a rug user. Now, I want to connect some dots for you, okay? So there is a documentary out, and I have seen it, and somebody actually had commented about it in my previous post. And math in the gay communities runs rampant because of two things. One, when a man is gay in the closet, they use rugs to get them through what they're going through, because their mental health is probably a mess. Not only that, they also use it as a stimulant for smex. Now, need I remind you that our friend Zora has also spilled some tea on Gypsy and Ken going down by a rail yard and Ken putting a collar and leash on Gypsy? Yeah, if you've never heard that story, maybe Zora should retell it, because it's very telling. And it's also telling because Gypsy is, we have seen, very open about her smex life. She always has been, even with Ryan, her ex-husband. So I hope this breaks it down for you guys a little bit more. And I just want to reiterate, I am well aware that methadone does not treat meth addicts. It treats opiates. I'm well aware of that. It got commented probably about 100 times in my last video that I had to delete. If you guys are still confused, leave a comment in the comments. And I just want to also say that I am not doing this to bully. I am doing this for awareness and to show that there is a lot of things that are about to come out. And I don't think Gypsy's reaching the end of that parole. And if she does, she's going to be right back on it, in my opinion, of course. The more you know.
Now, let's get into the real bombshell, because what I'm about to tell you didn't come from some random internet speculation. This came from a very reliable source, someone deep in Gypsy Rose Blanchard's camp. We're talking about someone Gypsy has confided in frequently, someone who knows the ins and outs of her relationship with Ken, the drama behind the scenes, and trust me, it's messier than we thought. According to this source, who's been in touch with Zora and has a solid track record, Ken's alleged issues didn't just start recently. They go way back. In fact, what we're being told is that Ken may have been an active user since the very beginning, back when he first reached out to Gypsy while she was still in prison.
All right, so let's talk about this real quick, because I haven't seen anybody really talk about it, just one person so far. And I think it needs to be talked about, especially considering the things that have been coming out with Gypsy and Ken and that whole scenario. So if you guys haven't noticed, Gypsy had not left Ken's in like a straight week. If you guys don't know, Gypsy's on parole. So she has to be at her main physical address, which is Rod and Christy, her father and stepmother. She has to be at their house, primarily all the time. She is allowed to stay at Ken's 1 or 2 nights a week. She has stated that multiple times on live. But yet we see her there literally all week. And we know she's been there all week because she did a live She actually did 2 lives from there and the apology video from there. The apology video that is now gone. And that's one thing that Ryan doesn't have to say. He hasn't taken down none of his stuff. It's still up and posted and everything, and she's already deleted everything and said it's a new day. Anyways, I fully believe that she stayed at Ken's for so long because Christy was upset with her. And wouldn't you know, as soon as people start talking about it, because I just seen a video on my FYP about it, she posts on her stories on TikTok that she's enjoying the rain and shows very apparent that she's at her parents' house. Get in trouble, Jip? Anyways, I do believe that there's going to be conflict in that house. I think that Christy is very upset for her throwing her under the bus for her to save her own ass. And I think they're finally seeing everything. And from my source, it seems like people are pretty upset close to Gypsy. Like everyone. Like, come on, you really think Ken's all fine and dandy after she literally was exposed for talking to another man and basically saying another man is her comfort? Now, if he's okay with that, that tells you all you need to know right there. He's able to sweep it under the rug and go to couples therapy and not say anything or do anything about it. You know that either, like I said, there's the dirt coming out. He don't want her spreading it like she's been doing with Ryan. And or he's just super desperate. You know what I mean? Because I'm telling you right now, again, I've said this before, ain't no man gonna stand for that. And since he's standing for it, that tells you a lot right there, right?
Yeah, let that sink in. To paint the picture, Ken is Gypsy's current boyfriend and the father of her baby girl, Aurora. But there's another layer to this story because the source also alleges that Ken is gay, or at the very least, bisexual. And yes, I have to say allegedly for legal reasons, but according to the person closest to this situation, it's not just speculation. Gypsy knows. She's fully aware. She's chosen to stay in this relationship regardless, and that says a lot. But here's where it gets even darker. The source claims Ken is allegedly an active meth user. Yep, that kind of meth. And we're not just talking rumors. This person is confident enough in what they know to say it flat out. He's been using for a while. Which begs the question, what kind of environment is Gypsy really in right now?
So Kels says, so tired of the accusations and assumptions. Gypsy served her time. Let the girl live her life. So first of all, accusations and assumptions. I would like to say reality and awareness. Because when somebody constantly lies, there's going to be accusations and assumptions, but there's also facts. The fact of the matter is Gypsy Rose Blanchard conned a autistic man to do her bidding because she didn't have the balls to do it herself. Oh, but she was abused her whole life. Right. Where's the evidence of that? Every instance that she said she was abused has been debunked. She said her mom locked her in the shed for a whole night. She was already a grown-ass woman at this point, 1. And 2, she describes that shed very differently than it actually is, so that's kind of weird. And then not to mention the fact that of the last 4 to 5 years of her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard's life, she was struggling with a lot of health issues of her own, solely because that she was taking care of Gypsy and her health issues and trying to figure out what exactly was wrong with her daughter. So tell me how it was okay for her to murder her mom, regardless of if there was abuse or not. And I always love that. She's served her time, let her live her life. Why does she get to live her life? Her mother that took care of her whole life didn't get to live the rest of her life and meet her granddaughter and be able to see Gypsy get married or Gypsy thrive like she most likely wanted to for the rest of her life. Why does she get to live her life lying and not doing anything with it, but literally creating drama and leading her back on the same road she was when she did that to her mother and she got the time she got? Because all she's done out here is create drama. Her whole group has created so much drama in other people's lives, from doxing to ruining people's lives to getting people fired. All this chaos for one person. And what has she did? She's just cheated on her husband that she used. She's aired out her parents' dirty laundry, violated her parole numerous times, very visibly, but since the PO and all of the authorities out where she lives are corrupt, in my opinion, that doesn't get seen. So you guys think everything's just fine and dandy, right? It's not. We won't stop talking about it. They're not assumptions or accusations. They're facts and reality. And what we're bringing is awareness. And if you have a problem with that, it's kind of weird that I'm on your FYP because you obviously watch a whole lot about it. But I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Because here's the thing. While Gypsy's original crime wasn't drug-related, meaning she isn't regularly tested by her parole officer, this source claims that if she were randomly drug tested today, she might not pass. Allegedly, Gypsy surrounded herself with the wrong kind of people, and according to this insider, she's the kind to follow the crowd. All right, let's break this all the way down, because the deeper you look into Gypsy Rose's inner circle, the more chaotic it gets. And according to new info from a reliable source, the mess might be even bigger than we thought. So here's what we do know. 1. Ken, Gypsy's current boyfriend and baby daddy, is allegedly a meth user. 2. Bree, Gypsy's ride-or-die bestie who defends her at every turn, has also been suspected of using based on behavior viewers claim they've seen on her lives. 3. And to top it off, Bree's husband, an ex-felon who's openly admitted to being a former drug user. So let's connect the dots. This isn't just about Gypsy. It's about the crowd she's surrounding herself with. And based on what we're seeing, it's not exactly a healthy one. Now, here's where it gets even deeper. Someone pointed out a connection to a documentary that dives into how meth use is reportedly common in certain corners of the gay community, especially among closeted men.
All right, so I'm going to reply to this because S. Smith, your comment is really popular and you have people genuinely confused. Everybody's like, oh my god, who's Pepper Rose? Oh my god, what's going on? There's a new character unlocked. And I'm at work, so I can't respond really quickly, but I wanted to respond to your comment because I've never heard somebody call her this, and nobody knows who Pepper is. And you're talking about her so nonchalantly. I think people are like, oh my god, it's a new character unlocked. Who is Pepper? Is she a new sibling? Is she a girlfriend or a new boyfriend? What's going on? Well, all my American Horror Story people knows who Pepper is. But let me show you guys. So this is Pepper from American Horror Story. If you guys don't know, this is basically the character in the show, and this is the actor that portrays her. So this is Pepper, guys, and that's who this comment is referring to as Pepper Rose or Gypsy Rose. And before y'all come at me, I'm not the one who said this. I'm simply responding back to a comment. And I believe Gypsy's little crew she has done much worse to other creators than calling them Pepper Rose. So have a good day.
Why? Allegedly as a coping mechanism for mental health struggles and as a stimulant during sex. And before y'all come for the comments, I know methadone treats opioid addiction, not meth. We've already cleared that up 100 times, so let's move on. Now, if you've been following the tea from Zora, you might remember one specific moment that raised a lot of eyebrows. Allegedly, Gypsy and Ken were spotted down by a rail yard, with Ken putting a collar and leash on Gypsy. Yes, a collar and leash. And it wasn't just a one-time thing. Gypsy's always been open about her sex life, whether it was with Ryan or now with Ken. So this isn't out of character, but it's definitely telling. All of this is leading to a bigger point. If Gypsy were drug tested today, sources say she probably wouldn't pass. Not because her crime was drug-related. It wasn't. But because she's allegedly deep in a scene that's way more reckless than what she presents online, her parole terms might not include drug testing in Louisiana unless there's a related offense. But if they ever decided to surprise her with one, well, let's just say the outcome wouldn't shock some of us.
Oh look, Trippy Tribe, we have another one that doesn't know how to do research. The doctors who were interviewed who acknowledged the fact she was being forced to have procedures that weren't necessary. What procedures weren't necessary? Because she had 4 procedures total in her whole entire life. All that were completely necessary. Why hasn't there been any malpractice lawsuit? No lawyer wanted to take it? Why? Oh yeah, because there was no abuse or malpractice going on. Yes, her mom was a little pushy, as you can see in her medical records that are available to read. But what mom wouldn't be? Honestly, she didn't know what was going on with her daughter. And I can tell by your previous comments, you haven't even read the FOIA request, which Gypsy herself says that she made up a lot of the symptoms of what she was feeling to gain sympathies from her mother, which is psychotic behavior that she continues to this day. No doctors have acknowledged that there was anything. If there was, there would have been lawsuits that were filed and money that would have been won. But guess what? There was none. And it has been uncovered that if her mom did in fact abuse her in any way, shape, or form, it was very minimal. And at the end of the day, nobody deserves to be murdered in cold blood, especially a mother that was doing the very best for her daughter. And if you don't believe that, then maybe you should go back to the drawing board and do a little bit more research before you comment and look like this. Okay? Have the day you deserve.
And no, this isn't about bullying. This is about awareness. Because there's more coming out. And if Gypsy thinks she's reaching the end of her parole without consequences, she might want to think again. The more you know, and just to be clear, this entire breakdown comes courtesy of TikToker Ash2Trippy, who has been dropping bombshell after bombshell with alleged insider knowledge about Gypsy's world. But let's not forget, this is hearsay. Nothing has been legally confirmed, and everything mentioned here is alleged. So take it with a grain of salt. But keep your eyes open, because if even half of this is true, things could be spiraling fast behind the scenes.
Here's my theory on Gypsy and her manic episodes. Because honestly, that's literally what they are. They're manic episodes that she has. And I think no matter who tells her, like, don't do that, or maybe you shouldn't do that, even if people did tell her that, she wouldn't listen. And that's where, you know, how Christy was saying, like, she does what she wants, and Ken even says she does what she wants. Ryan says she does what she wants, right? But I fully believe, along with the fact that she believes every single lie that she tells, because that's just what she puts in her mind. That's how her mind functions. But I also think that she thinks in her mind that nobody remembers certain things if she deletes them from her page. Because if you've ever noticed, she doesn't ever talk about the things ever again. I'm sure that apology will never come up again on her. And if somebody ends up asking her about it, it's going to be like a roundabout answer, and she's not going to answer them straightforward. Or she's going to change the subject, because I've noticed she does that a lot too. But I full on believe that she believes everything that she says. Or she believes everything that she says she's been through. Yeah, the internet's forever. That video is literally everywhere. It's not just gonna go away by her deleting it from her profile. But like I said, I think it's really awesome that Ryan hasn't deleted anything from his profile and that those text messages are still up. And I hope it hurts her. I really do. Because what she did to Ryan, regardless of how I feel about Ryan or about how anybody else feels about Ryan, because if you guys don't know, I don't think Ryan's the best person. I'm not like Team Ryan over here or anything like that. At the end of the day, he still wrote to a murder in prison. So, did he have what he came to him? Yes, but I think that it's so wrong of what she's done, what she's exposed, and the pettiness that she's been doing recently. It's giving I'm in middle school and have multiple boyfriends.
Thanks for watching, y'all. If you found this video interesting or eye-opening, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next deep dive. There's always more tea brewing, and you definitely want to stay in the loop.